Hey, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Back with another update on the series of taking my client Annette from complete zero in her coaching business to making $10,000 a month. On the last episode, we kind of spoke about the updates that we made in terms of the launching the ads, launching the systems, and just getting things off the ground. This episode is going to be more about how the results have been from those launches over the first few weeks of them being up. Seeing what's worked, seeing what hasn't worked, seeing what the plan is moving forward, that kind of thing. So, if you're liking these videos, feel free to subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment which insights you found the most helpful, because it really does help a lot, and it does mean a lot to me. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so right now I'm in Annette's ad account on Facebook. This is just an insight into what the kind of analytics are right now. Just kind of like an update around what's been happening over the past month of us kind of starting to run ads, properly stepping our foot on the gas, that kind of thing. So as you can see, we're still spending around $10 a day. And, we're using the same, follow-up ad strategy, getting people to follow the page, reaching out to them, appointment set, book someone an appointment, so on and so forth. And yeah, as you can see here, the cost per profile visits, the cost per lead is very, very low, to a point where, we're getting a cost per lead over here of 25 cents Australian, which is, let me just do that, 1.25 AUD to USD. That's what, 16 US cents? 16 US cents per follower, which is insane. Let me just show you inside the Instagram account. In fact, let me show you. So as you can see, Annette's account, like her follower account, has grown a lot, right? When we first started this series, her follower account was like 250, and now it's over 1.2k just from the follower ads in just a month, right? So you can tell how many not cheap in the sense of like they're bad quality, they're actually all qualified. That's the crazy part. Like, that's actually the insane part. All qualified followers coming through, and over 1,000 of them have come over in the past month, right, of running those follow ads. And as you can see, her engagement, like if we go back down to when we first started working together, like 1 likes, 2 likes, 24. This one did all right, I guess. 5 likes, 2 likes. But when we started working together, when we started running ads, right, having the right messaging in place with the ads, making sure that we're speaking to people's pain points, we're getting more and more engagement on the videos gradually, right? As time goes on, this was actually the ad that we ran. You can look at the comments, right? Gradually even more and more engagement, right? 11 comments here. These are all people commenting the keyword to actually get a link to her VSL, right? More engagement here, and these are all qualified leads, right? More and more engagement as time goes on, right? So you get the idea, right? Running these ads, and this one has done really, really well actually. Running these ads has just improved the overall engagement and people coming through the funnel. So like I've said before, the whole idea is we run people to the page, right, the profile, we run traffic to it, ask them to follow, the appointment setter comes in, and they basically send a automated pre-recorded voice note. The prospect replies, right, and then the appointment setter has a whole conversation with them. Most of these are in the general section, but appointment setter has a full conversation with them, and then eventually they get them to book an appointment. They book an appointment using the appointment booking page, right? They book an appointment. There's the mini VSL here. And when they book an appointment, we send them over the pre-sales call VSLs. They watch this pre-sales call VSLs. They get nurtured and kind of indoctrinated into the way of thinking that we want them to think in. Kind of change their belief, reframe their way of thinking. and then we get their, take what they took away from the videos and stuff like that, right? And yeah, like we just wait for them to get on the call, and then when they get on the call, that's when we close them, right? So that's the whole idea, and I wanted to share more about, the analytics, right? What the actual results have been like, and how far we've been able to take $10 a day in ad spend, right? How far we've been able to push that forward. Now, before I do that, I just want to put on the screen like just the amount of followers that we've been getting, coming through. Like it's on the last video, I said I'll show on the screen, all the followers coming in. Like we're getting like 20, 30, 40, sometimes even 60 followers in a day, just on a $10 a day ad spend. And this isn't USD, by the way, this is Australian dollars, right? 10 Australian dollars a day. And we're getting, leads for this cheap, and they're all qualified, which is insane, right? But I wanted to share more about the actual analytics and the results that we've been getting. So on average, right, these are all the results. Now, when it comes to these averages, I wouldn't say they're fully accurate, because November was actually a lot better than October in terms of analytics, because when it comes to October, we were testing a lot of stuff, right? The appointment sets had just been installed, so we were training them and making sure that they were fully on board with everything and they were doing a good job. So that took a few weeks to do, and make sure that we are all on the same page. So that kind of affected the appointment booking rate and stuff like that. So November, I would say, is more of a is a better overall view of the performance of the ads so far. So I'm going to go on November, and as you can see in the overall like snapshot here, $128.24 spent, $700 in cash collected, 5.46x return on investment in terms of cash collected. And then the total revenue like for the 3-month program, right? The 3-month program is 2,000 Australian dollars for 3 months, and then that means, based on the current ad spend, the return on ad spend is a 46x for November, which is insane, right? But the main thing I want to focus in on is the cost per call, right? The cost per call has been insane. Like a $9.86 cost per call, Australian dollars, by the way. And if we go back, like how much is that in USD? That's like $5 USD, I think. Like 9.48, I think it was, right? 9.86. I don't know where I got 48 from. 9.86. $6.41 US per call. So $6.41 US dollars per booked call. And by the way, all of these calls have been qualified. All of them are qualified leads. And the reason for that is because we spent so much time in market research. Well, not so much time, but we put a lot of emphasis on it to make sure that we got it right. And making sure that we target the right people with the messaging that we use inside the content, inside the ads, inside everything really, right? It came down to, even with Annette, right, looking the part, wearing her scrubs. She's wearing her nurse scrubs inside of a professional environment for nurses in the hospital, in her organization that she works in, while she was filming the ad, right? So it's insane. Like it's like kind of crazy how, something as little as just paying attention to detail when it comes to, how a prospect, how the ICP thinks, how they like to be addressed, how they like to be spoken to, the type of struggles that they have, and just basically, catering towards that, how much that actually affects the results that you get. So yeah, that's honestly a great thing about what we've been doing so far, just seeing how many calls have been coming in so easily at such cheap costs, and for basically no money, right? They're all qualified. So yeah, this is what $10 a day has been doing for us so far. It's insane, right? But I wanted to kind of circle in on one other thing that I think is important as well. So on this channel, right, I want to make it clear that I value transparency, right? I want to be as transparent as possible with you guys. And the main thing that I wanted to circle in on is the sales. From what I've spoke about so far in this video, you'll have the impression that pretty much every single part of the system is dialed in. We're turning a $10 Australian dollar a day ad spend into $6,000 in revenue, right? In less than a month, which is insane, right? But I want to kind of give a little bit of insight around that, okay? Maybe kind of change your perspective around what's really happening behind the scenes. Because you will be right, pretty much every single part of the funnel is dialed in, right? The leads are coming in at a cheap cost. They're pretty much all qualified. They have the money to invest. And if I show you the prospect information that we get when someone books a call. So whenever I build out a call booking calendar for my clients, I always use the similar questions, right? And one main question, which is probably the most important question that I use, is if they were able to, if they were in a position where they were going to get the results that they want, right? Would they be able to invest into getting the solution, right? What would be their willingness to invest into themselves to get the result? So basically, all of these people, like pretty much every single person that's filled in the form and said, I'm more than willing to invest, 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 more than willing to invest. And by the way, like the options are, I'm not willing to invest into myself. That's the first option. The second option is I am willing to invest into myself to get that result. And the third option is I'm more than willing to invest into myself, right? So these people are going out their way to say they're more than willing to invest into, getting the right help to get the result, right? We make it very, very clear that this is, a financial investment. So they're saying they're more than willing to invest into themselves to get the result, meaning that they're in an immense amount of pain, right? So naturally you should think, these people should be really, really easy to close, right? But that's where you'd be wrong, right? Even though we're getting, dozens of appointments booked, right? A lot of appointments booked, and they're pretty much all qualified and pretty much all willing to invest into getting the right help. That is where the bottleneck is, right? That shows, right? For us to be getting these results, that shows that pretty much every other part of the funnel is dialed in, right? In terms of the appointment setting, in terms of the content, in terms of the marketing messaging, in terms of all that stuff, right? But why aren't we, with all these metrics, we should be at 10K a month already, right? But why aren't we? And I'll tell you right now, it is the sales. The sales right now is the biggest bottleneck with Annette's coaching business. So with the way that we do sales with my clients, at least, is I always get my clients to hop on their own sales calls, right, and sell it themselves, because they're always going to have the highest leverage in terms of the amount of money that they can make, the amount of money that they can make, and the amount of money they can charge for their programs, right? And then also, when it comes to trust, when it comes to selling and stuff like that, people are way more likely to hop on a call if it's the actual creator hopping on the call with them rather than some random closer. And then also, if you are respected in that way, you obviously are the content creator that they're speaking to, you're going to have more knowledge around what you're selling than some random closer again. So I always get my clients to hop on their own sales calls and close. Now, with the people that I work with, a lot of the time they have basically no experience in high ticket sales, right? So it's always a learning curve, getting them to get attuned to attuned and accustomed to stuff like objection handling, discovery, different sales tactics, which will allow them to close at a high level when it comes to selling their programs. So the main thing that I wanted to mention is, even though on paper we're doing really, really well, the main bottleneck right now is the sales, right? The sales, for the amount of calls that we're booking, should be so much better. And this isn't to take away from what Annette is doing. Annette is absolutely brilliant, right? She's working really hard and she's really just grafting so much to make sure that she's improving. But this is proving to be a little bit of a steep learning curve, and I believe that it's going to be the main bottleneck for us moving forward until we fix it, right? It's going to be the main thing holding Annette back. The main thing that will be holding Annette back from getting to that 10K a month mark will be the sales, right? Because every other part of the business, every other part of the system is dialed in. It's literally just the sales that is kind of holding her back a little bit. And that's not a problem. Every single person has a different journey when it comes to sales. I used to be terrible at sales, genuinely awful at sales, but it's just a skill that you need to learn, right? So I'm doing my best, reviewing her coaching, reviewing her sales calls. I'm spending, 1 hour 30, 2 hours per sales call, reviewing them, sharing my thoughts, what she can improve on. And she genuinely is improving after every single sales call. But at the same time, I'm also seeing sales calls that she's taking where I'm like, yo, this was definitely closable. Like, you could have closed this for sure. But hey, not everyone's gonna close every single call, especially when you're just starting out. So yeah, it's just I wanted to share that, like, give more of a perspective on what's actually happening, because yeah, like, on paper everything's going good, like it's going amazing, but for her to make consistent return on investment when it comes to her ads, and for me to be comfortable or confident to scale that ad spend for her, and for us to spend more money on ads, build the team, for her to get to that multi-six figure level with her coaching business, the sales need to improve, and that's what we're currently trying to work on. And I'm very, very confident that she's going to get the hang of it within the next month or so, and she's going to make consistent profits when it comes to ad spend, because the leads are there, the intent is there, the demand is there. All we need to do now is just capitalize on it. So yeah, that's basically it. I hope this update was helpful, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one.